Hello, everyone. This is Lee Griffin. Thank you for joining. I'm going to take everyone through a modified presentation that I've been using with our newer officials for the last few years. Try to update it, first of all, for the rules for volleyball for 2021. So those are reflected. And then I've done my best to explain where we are relative to registration and whatnot, given the current situation. So I hope this is valuable. If you have any questions, comments, etc., please let me know either by email or phone call. And I look forward to talking to everyone on Thursday night when we have our review of any questions and discussion. Thanks very much. Here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Lee Griffin. I'm going to go through volleyball officiating for the Triangle Association's virtual meeting. This is our session 1. We've got some contact information. If you have any sort of comments or questions, please feel free to contact me, either email or my cell phone number. Most of these interpretations are my own, so yeah, they could well be incorrect, but I've been using this as a basis for presenting to our newer officials for a few years now, and it's, I think, worked out pretty well. The way we're going to do our clinics this year is there are going to be 6 of these videos that'll be posted. Tonight's will be, this first one will be about 30 minutes, and I've got another. It'll be a little bit longer, so you need to do those 2 videos, these pairs of videos, and then we'll have interactive Zoom sessions on Thursday of the week to go through any questions you have, and I'm sure there will be, particularly around scheduling and whatnot. The way I've structured these is, first of all, I go through some of the requirements for being official. Remember, this is based on new officials. And then we then go into the rules, set up stuff like what the court and equipment are, then the positions, players, team, captains, etc. A couple of long sessions on play and making sure everyone understands the rules of play. And then finally, we go through conduct and summarize with the officials' responsibilities. So that should cover everything. So first section I'm gonna go through is requirements to be an official. And this, I've been a referee of various levels in high school since, since a long time ago, and been a referee for volleyball for about 15 years now after being a player. So this is what I've refined and stole a lot from our outstanding regional supervisor, Diane, and things I've heard her say and I've heard other referees say over the years. So you don't need your books or your rule books for this part, but hopefully you'll find it valuable. First of all, the requirements for this year, we're going to have 6 virtual clinics. This is one of those, and then we'll have 3 Zoom meetings to discuss those. Instead of having an in-person state rules clinic with the local association, we're going to have that as a Zoom meeting also. That'll be on August the 6th, at least currently August 6th at 7 p.m. I would ask everyone try to be a little bit early to that meeting because we have a large number of people that'll be joining the Zoom meeting, and try to avoid any technical difficulties so we can get that meeting done in a reasonable amount of time, because we'll have a lot of material to cover. Not much in the way of rules changes, but lots of other things going on. Scrimmages, as always, we will have a minimum of 3. You're encouraged to do more, particularly if you're a newer official. This is a chance to practice. If I'm on the court with you, don't expect to have me be the R1 and you watch. I might do that for 10 minutes, and then once that's done, if you're a new official, we're going to put you in that position because this is the chance to learn. And the teams that are participating in scrimmages understand that. The coaches understand that. So when we have to stop play for 10 seconds while I explain to you, that use this signal, or when this happens, we need to do that. We'll do that, and you'll learn a lot. Um, so you're expected to come to that scrimmages in your full uniform, just like you would for a match, and have all your equipment. Again, this is a chance to make sure you have all that right before you are at a match. And you'll self-assign those using the arbiter system, as we've done in the past. So one last thing about scrimmages, when we're doing scrimmages, even though there is a relaxed attitude about some things, but we need to make sure we are enforcing the rules for everything else. For example, if we will not require people to have jerseys with numbers on during a scrimmage, although it is good if there are numbers on the jerseys and we have scorekeepers practicing. If we don't have that, we can let things like numbers be avoided as far as penalizing teams. We're not going to do that. But we want to make sure everything about safety is done. We want to make sure we have jewelry rules enforced and all that. So be careful of that. Treat it just like you would a match, with the exception of things like the numbers, and we're not going to count substitutions and that sort of thing for the maximum number for a set. Everything else will be per rule, though. The national test, it's an online test, be available starting July the 27th and available till midnight on September 1st. Go ahead and take the test as soon as you can. There's no reason not to. And then if you run into a problem, there's time to fix it. If you run out of time and there's a problem on September 1st, well, that's on you. There's no reason that you would wait till the last day and then have a problem. So as in the past, there will be no exceptions to taking the test. And remember, you could take the test over a period of time, have your rule book there, help use that test as part of your learning experience. One last thing, as far as a requirement, before you can officiate even a scrimmage, we have to have taken a concussion course. So concussions are a big deal in sports, especially at the high school level. We do have concussions in volleyball. We do have players that run together and hit each other in the head. And then we do have concussions where they dive and hit the floor as well. So for whatever reason they occur, we need to know what to do when it does happen. So you need to take that concussion course, and I find I learn something from it every year. So right now, the way you do that mechanically is through the North Carolina High School Athletic Association website, and that takes you to what's called the National Federation for High Schools hub, and then you can find the concussion in sports. When I tried that earlier today, the North Carolina High School website was a little messed up given their change in the way they did registration, and I'm sure that'll get corrected. But expect for more information about the concussion course. For today, put it on your checklist of something you must get done before you sign up for any scrimmages, and look for further information on that. All right, so a couple of other things that are available that I highly encourage you to look at is under the National Federation. Both the high school website and the High School Learn website have lots of videos. I think those videos are free to use now, at least some of them are. I watched one yesterday on alignment, and then I watched one on back row attacks. So they're out there. They're very good. Some are a little dated as far as the information and rules may have changed slightly, but in general, things like back row attacks haven't changed in many years, and you can learn a lot. The other thing that someone else showed me recently, and I've really enjoyed, is referee.com. Referee.com is based on the Referee magazine, but on the website, they have lots of really valuable information about, it kind of summarizes things like the rule changes over the past few years and why they've been made. I think it's important to understand the philosophy and the reasoning behind the rule changes, as we're there to help enforce the rules and understand the spirit of the game. So referee.com is highly recommended as well. Scrimmage schedules aren't out yet. They will be self-assigned this year on Arbiter. Once the schools have their plans a little bit clearer, I'm sure we'll get information on that. Timing-wise, the first high school athletic association sanctioned matches can be on August 17th. But remember, we're officiating more than just the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. We also have the independent schools. We have lots and lots of private schools, and those can operate even earlier. So I don't know if they will this year, but when you get ready to do things like blocks, make sure you understand that there could be matches even earlier in August. Finally, if you're doing other sports or you're doing other associations, middle schools start their seasons typically in mid-September and go through sometime in middle of November. On Tuesday and Thursday, when those are going, as well as all the other schools that we now have, we need as much availability from you as possible. Our association has grown a little bit in the last few years, but the number of schools that we are now officiating for has grown dramatically, and the number of teams in those schools has grown as well. So now we have teams that have 2 JV matches or a JV and a freshman match in addition to their varsity match. And we need to cover all those. And we have more and more schools that are asking for and paying for line judges supplied by the association. So particularly from mid-September through the middle of October, 1st of November, there are a lot of matches, so your availability is really important then. The last thing on scheduling is the current playoff schedule is here. I put this up just to remind me to tell you that you can use your officiating card, which will be available online or through an app. I'm not sure exactly yet. But you can use that officiating card to go to any sanctioned high school volleyball match. It doesn't extend to other sports, but it is good for volleyball. So if you have 30 minutes when you're driving home and say you're going home from work, you don't have a match that afternoon, that evening, you got 30 minutes, go in and watch some of these high level matches we have. I think you'll find you learn a lot. I go, when I have a few minutes, I'll stop in. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to stay for hours and hours. You stay for, as long as you can, and watch how the officials operate the match. You'll learn a lot. I learn a lot. Even now, I find, some of my habits may have slid off a little, but I watch some of our more experienced officials, and I learn a lot. It doesn't extend to companions either, so it's just for volleyball, but it is free. Okay, so that's kind of all of the mechanics around things you have to set up. The last thing you have to set up and make sure you're set on that you are communicating with the regional supervisor with is Arbiter. We're going to use Arbiter again this year for match assignments. But before you can get a match, though, you've got to make sure Arbiter is set up for you. In particular, your zip code has to be in there. If you have to put in your home zip code. If you are traveling from a different location than your home zip code to go to matches, you need to let the regional supervisor know that so that she can modify the starting location that she uses to come out with assignments. So for example, if you live in North Raleigh, but you work in Fuquay-Varina, the travel time that you have to go to a match in Apex is going to be very different, right? If you live in North Raleigh, it might take you 30 minutes to get to Apex, but if you're in Fuquay, it might take 15 or 10. Or if you're going to a match in Sanford, it might be an hour versus 20 minutes. So all that's taken into account in the software that the booking agent uses to assign matches. But she has to know what your starting location is for that to work. So if you have a situation where you're starting, the location you're starting from to drive in the afternoon to the match is different than your home zip code, let her know in email. And if it's different on different days, note that as well. So for example, if Monday and Wednesday you have a class at NC State, then you'll be coming from NC State on Monday and Wednesday for a match. But on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'll be coming from your home, right? So you'll have those different things. So just make sure that you've communicated that information to the regional supervisor. In our case, that's Diane Atkins. Okay. The other thing that we require as an association is that you have a picture loaded into Arbiter. So we all have pictures nowadays. Put a nice, good picture of yourself there. That's mainly available so that when I walk out into a parking lot and I see a person with a blue shirt on, and I will have seen your picture and I know who you are, and vice versa. So anyway, put that picture in there. And then the last thing is make sure that Arbiter shows you as ready. You'll see that as one of the statuses on your home screen in the Arbiter portal. So that's how you set up Arbiter. But the other important information that you need to make sure you put into Arbiter as you're setting up for the season is to put in all the days that you can't work. We have matches on every day of the week. We don't, I haven't seen any high school matches on Sunday. I think they have a rule against it, but we have other matches on Sundays, and we definitely have high school matches every day of the week, Monday through Saturday, and at any time. That can be in the mornings. There can be a match that starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, so you're going to need to be at that gym at 7:30. Or there's going to be matches that are Friday night that start at 8 o'clock. So we're going to use this block system to communicate our availability to the booking agent so that when she's making assignments, she knows the ones that we are available for. So in my case, I don't accept any matches on Sundays, so I go ahead and block every Sunday of the year. Okay. And I'm not going to miss any NC State football games. So I'll go out, and I have already done this. I've blocked all of the days, the Saturdays that state has football games, or I guess all the home games this year are on Saturdays. And so for right now, I don't know what time those football games are going to be. So I've blocked all day. So for right now, you're going to check for my availability on a football day. I'm not available. As soon as the NC State decides what time the football game is going to be, I'm going to update my block. So if that football game is going to be at 7 p.m. on a Saturday, I will show myself now as available all day Saturday morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. Okay. The point is communicate to the booking agent your availability by way of these blocks and keep them up to date. As things change, just go ahead and change them. It's really important, though, to do them, the ones you know about now, so that you don't forget. If your wedding anniversary is on some day in September and you have a thing where you and your spouse always do something, go ahead and block that day off right now, right? You know that in advance. So anyway, it's important to communicate with the booking agent, and this Arbiter blocks is one of the most important ways we do that. So once you've received an assignment from the regional supervisor, you want to accept that as soon as you can. Remember, you've already communicated that you were available by way of not having a block. Now, if you do have a block and we're extremely short on officials, you may get a phone call that says, hey Lee, can you, I know you show it as blocked until 5 or after 5 o'clock on Thursday. Any way you could go to a match beforehand that might not be over till 5:30 or 6, right? You may, but that'll be a phone call or an email to do that. But you've communicated when you're available, and you've got the assignment. When you accept that assignment, you are committing. Imagine you're in a contract, because that's effectively what you're doing. You're saying, I will be there to perform the duties of the referee. Okay. Now, you should never have to decommit, but of course, things do happen. You do get sick. Uh, things do happen in life, right? If that happens, you need to contact Diane as soon as you know about it, because the rearrangement that she may have to do, most likely or almost always, involves not just the match that you're assigned to, but it may involve other matches. Okay, so the rearrangement may involve 6 or 8 officials, maybe even more. So as soon as you know that you can't perform because of illness or some sort of extenuating circumstance, let Diane know as soon as you can. Okay, assuming everything is great. Once all your partner or partners have accepted the match, we need to make sure that we contact each other. You'd be surprised the number of times I've contacted and said, "Hey, I'll meet you at the match where the triangle volleyball," and they'll be like, "Oh, I thought it was at so and so." So we want to make sure that we all know where we're going to meet, and that we're all committed to being there. So generally, the R1 will initiate this, but there's no real reason that everyone else can't do that. But if by the night before the match, if you've not been able to contact your partners after you've tried all the methods that you have, either email or text or phone call, reach out to Diane and say, "Hey, I've tried to call Lee. I've sent him messages. I haven't heard from him. What's going on?" And so she may know of some extenuating circumstance or whatnot, but do that. The other thing is, if you're traveling long distance, this is the time to set up to travel together. And I strongly encourage you to do that. If you're going a good bit of distance, that travel time to and from the match, you can talk about volleyball. You get to know each other about how you want to operate the match. But it's just a great time to learn about some other great people in this business. You want to decide where you're going to meet when you contact. Generally, it's best to come in the gym together. It's not required, but you're going to come to the gym. You're going to come to the gym dressed. So different from some other sports, these teams typically do not have a good facility or any facility for us to change clothes. If you need to, make sure you get there a little bit early, because that will be unusual for them, and they will accommodate you. But normally we arrive at the gym dressed and ready to officiate the match, because we're not going to need to take a shower or anything like you would have after a football game or a basketball game. Also, make sure in your cell phone you have your partner's telephone numbers, because if you and I agree that we're going to meet at 10 minutes to 4 at the gym at Cleveland High School, and I'm there and I don't see you, and it's 5 minutes to 4, I'm going to go ahead and walk in the gym so that the coaches know that that one of us is there. This will be for a 4:30 match. And then I'm going to call you and say, "Hey, where are you?" And hopefully you're, "Well, I'm just driving into the parking lot," kind of thing. So have your partner's telephone number in your phone so that you're ready to do that. And you're not scurrying around, because believe me, if it's just you there for the match, there's a lot to do. And we only have 30 minutes before we have that first serve. So anyway, one last thing came up last year a few times where we had, you'd get an assignment and you would be the R1 for both the JV and the varsity, or maybe it would show you as the R2 for both the JV and the varsity, or anytime where there's sequential matches, that can happen. It's normally a mistake because of the way the assignment system works. It's a little cumbersome. If you have that condition, contact Diane, our regional supervisor, to clarify if do indeed is that what she intends, that you would be the R1 for both, the R2 for both, the line judge for for both, etc. All right. Okay, so those are the kind of mechanics around it. Now I'm going to go through a few things that I've learned being a referee for a long time. Hopefully you get this. So this first suggestion, um, I've learned this because I've found that I was not doing a good job of it. And anyway, we're going to get 1099 tax forms typically, because now that we aren't getting paid directly, or not, at least not very often directly by the teams or the schools, we're going to get paid through ref pay, and that will normally be enough to trigger a 1099. So when you report your income, you're going to expect to get that. So the key thing you need to do is make sure that you're tracking all your mileage. You would be surprised at how many miles you travel. And if you don't write it down when it occurs, you're going to forget about it, and you're going to leave some out. And that's, you're leaving some money on the table there that really belongs to you. So remember all your unpaid trips as well. For instance, going to scrimmages, right? If you go to matches to improve your skills, things like that, going to get equipment, all of those things, those trips are typically going to be mileage that you can deduct. And remember, we do not get paid for mileage, so it's an unreimbursed business expense. And remember, any equipment you buy, obviously you can write that off as well. So anyway, just write it all down. If you do it contemporaneously, that's the very best way. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here for a few minutes. Talk a little bit about the philosophy, the approach that I take to be an official, and I think we ought to at least think about. First thing, in today's world, you're being filmed, or almost certainly being filmed, from the time you arrive in the parking lot till you leave that school campus. So remember that. Remember that you're being filmed. You may or may not being recorded. So make sure that you'd be happy to see yourself on the news at 11 o'clock. Remember also that almost all of our matches now, the matches themselves are being filmed, and many of them are being broadcast. Not to be scared of that or anything, but just to be cognizant of the fact that that's occurring. So make sure your behavior is absolutely the best. The other thing about being a referee I learned a long time ago is that you want to look the part when you walk in the gym, right? If you're disheveled and your shirt tail's all hanging out, and your shoes aren't tied, that makes an impression from the very first time that the coaches see you or the players see you. So you want to look the part when you show up. And by looking the part, it doesn't mean you're not pleasant. Of course, you want to be pleasant. That's part of being the referee as well. But you want to look the part so that you get the respect that we need as referees to help facilitate the game. Another thing to remember is that sports at high school or middle school, they're an extension of the school day. They're part of the school. They're part of the education the students are receiving. Okay, so all the rules that apply to education are going to apply to us as well, right? So for instance, no tobacco or alcohol are allowed on any of these campuses, right? So don't have any of that on your person, in your vehicle, etc. Make sure you follow those rules. And remember that the part of education is the event, right? These players and coaches, these coaches are there to teach these kids both the sport, but more than the sport, they're teaching them, how to conduct themselves, how to do a lot of things that they'll have as life lessons forever. So along that line, I think the whole point of what we're doing is helping the coaches to teach their players about sport and about how to deal with teammates. So we need to be in that philosophy. So for instance, when I go to a middle school match, the coaches are teaching their players how to do everything. How do you do a substitute? How do they start the set, right? How do they switch courts? So help them do that. Don't take the attitude of, well, they should know that. Well, maybe the first time this sixth grader has ever been on the volleyball court and they're scared to death. They don't know really what to do. You help them. Help them. There's no reason not to help them. With older students, you don't normally have to teach them how to do that. Sometimes you do, but usually you don't. But what you're teaching there is that you're the strong authority figure. You're the person in charge. So particularly when the captain comes to approach you to ask a question, because their coach is going to say, Sally, go over and ask the referee, what was that call? What was that? Go ask him, right? When that captain comes over to ask you, you need to treat them with respect because they're representing their team, and realize that part of their learning is how to approach an authority figure, which is you, and how to express themselves to you. Okay, so make sure you communicate with them. All right, they're representing their team, so communicate with them so that they are encouraged to be able to approach a strong authority figure that you're representing. So, okay. And the last thing is realize you'll be at your first match. You're going to be a little nervous. Yeah. The players are really nervous when they first start, right? They want to perform well. They want to show off to their folks. They want to show off to their boyfriend, girlfriends, and to their teammates. But they'll be really nervous. So when the first time the girl serves the ball, when she gets it well before you blow the whistle, that's okay. All right, blow your whistle, stop it. Make sure wait for my whistle. Treat it like it should be because they're nervous. They're not intentionally doing it. You'll know if they are intentionally trying to mess up something. But that is so rare compared to the number of times they're just nervous and they forget. And also, when they go out there, they'll have jewelry on, stuff like that when they're warming up. Just remind them. They'll say, "Oh, I forgot. Occasionally, we'll have some that say, "Oh, I just got my earrings in." Well, I'm sorry, but you have to take those out, right? So treat them with respect, and I think it'll work out good. All right. So last thing on philosophy, um, someone said this to me one time: is that you want to command respect, not demand it. And I think if you do all the things I've talked about as far as looking the part, addressing the players and the coaches, with respect, but in a pleasant tone, I think you'll get that. You'll find that in volleyball we don't have problems very often. It's very rare we have any sort of problems with any sort of behavior or language and that sort of things. It does occur, but it's very rare. And we'll go through how you have to deal with that. But realize this is a fun sport. Everyone loves playing it. I loved playing it, and I know that I always wanted to play more. So one thing you want to make sure is when you know these players, you're going to know these players and coaches over time. Always call them coach or Coach Henson or do that. Don't ever call them by just their first name or familiar name because the players will see that, they'll understand that, and that takes away a little bit from the respect that you're giving the coach and vice versa that the coach is going to give you. Enjoy the situation. You might be stressful your first few times. I'm sure you will, but enjoy it. Be polite, and if you always remember, if whatever you're doing, if you smile while you're doing it, then it really will help make the entire situation go well. All right, so that's the end of part one. Here's my contact information if you have any questions or comments. Hopefully this part was valuable, and look forward to going through with you next the beginning of the rules. So thanks very much. We'll start another video in just a few minutes.